Hey, what's up everyone and welcome to Daily Code Buffer. In this video, we are going to create a Facebook clone, and to build that, we are going to use the following tech stack. We are going to use the Spring Boot as the backend application, and with that, we are going to use the Spring Data JPA to connect our Spring Boot application to the database. And for the database, we are going to use the MySQL. And for the front end part, we are going to use the Next.js to build our application, to build our front end UI. And to build our entire layout, we are going to use the Tailwind CSS. We are also going to use the Next-Auth authentication to authenticate our application using the Facebook. And we are also going to implement the React-Redux with Redux Toolkit, so we can handle our state easily in our application. And this entire application would be completely responsive and all the data would be saved directly to the database. So let me show you what we are going to build today, and after that we will start building the application. So if you see my screen, this is the login screen of our application, where it is asking for you to log in via Facebook. So once you click on login, Next-Auth comes into picture. So whatever the configuration that we have added in our Next-Auth authentication, it will kick in and it will ask you for whatever the providers that you have used. For this particular application, we have only used Facebook. So once you click on login, it will ask you to log in with Facebook. So once we sign in with Facebook, it will redirect you to add your Facebook credentials, and once you add, it will redirect back to your application. I've already logged into Facebook from this browser, so once I click on sign in, it will directly redirect back to my application. So let me just click on sign in with Facebook, and here you can see that my application is there. So you can see this is a complete Facebook clone, and you can see that there is a Facebook logo, search bar, all the buttons. So this is the same profile picture which my Facebook has. The name is also coming from the Facebook, and these are the buttons. And you can see there is a left sidebar as well and the right sidebar as well, and this is completely responsive. And you can see all the posts available. All the posts you can see I have added. You can add the images as well, you can add the emojis as well. So all these posts are saved to the database using the Spring Boot application. So all this thing, whatever the data are there, we are posting all the data with post request to Spring Boot application, and Spring Boot application is responsible to save all the data to database. So I'll show you the demo as well. For this, let's say welcome to Daily Code Buffer. The spelling is incorrect. Let me just correct it, and let me just add any photo. So if I select this particular photo, you can see that this photo will come over here. And if you want to remove that photo, you can remove that photo and you can add a new image as well. So suppose I am selecting this image. This is already selected, but let me just select it again. And once you hit enter, you can see that it will be directly available in your UI, and the same thing will be directly available in your database as well. And you can also see that this application is completely responsive. We have added all the utility classes of the Tailwind CSS to make this responsive. So once you reduce the size of a browser, you can see all the components will be shifted closer together, and when they are not necessary, those will be hidden. So if you can see that those are coming closer together, and after one point, those components will be hidden. So you can see that the left bar is hidden now, and there is only middle component, that is your feed and your right sidebar. And after the one size as well, the right sidebar will also be hidden. So here you can see that this is also hidden now, and there is only one component, and you can see that is also completely responsive. And you can see that for your search bar is also smaller now, and all the different components that you are seeing in the header, that is also now not available. You can see now it will come everything. So you can see it's completely responsive, and you can add all the data. And once you click on this image, it will be signed out from the application and it will be redirected to your login page. And once you log in back again, everything is there. You can see that all the data is coming. So this is what we are going to build today. You will be able to learn a lot of things, a complete full stack application, which includes a lot of UI components and a lot of backend components as well. So grab a cup of your coffee and let's build this application. So now let's create the Next.js application and start building our Facebook clone. Once we build the structure of it, and then when we need the backend service, at the time we will go ahead and create the Spring Boot application and create the backend service, and we'll connect both together. So let me just go to the directory and create the folder, and then we will create the Next.js app. So let me just go to the terminal, cd download documents, YouTube tutorials. So now here let's create the project. To create the Next.js project, what we have to do is we have to tell npx create next app and the name of the application. I will say Facebook clone, and you can see that it started creating the project. So we'll wait for it to complete. It is completed and it's asking that you can go to this directory and you can use npm run dev command to start your development server. Cool, right? So let's go to this directory, cd Facebook clone. You can see that these are all the files, and let me just open this in the VS Code. Okay, so this is my entire application, and if I just start the server, go to the terminal, npm run dev, and you can see that my server has started and it's running on localhost 3000. So if I go to the localhost 3000, this is your basic Next.js application when you create next app. So this is what you will get, but we don't need all these things. So let's just remove everything and let's build our application. And one more thing to note over here is Next.js is a framework on top of the React library. So the base is React, so most of the things we will be doing with the React only, and few of the components we will be using from the Next.js as well. And we are going to use Next-Auth and all the other packages that we are going to download. I'll tell you each and everything which we are going to download. So let's go back and let's remove everything. So what we don't need is, if you go to the public directory, we need that. If you go to the pages directory, API, this is the APIs that you can create. This is the main app.js file, and this is the index.js file. This is where everything will be coming from. So I don't need this. Instead of create next step, I can tell Facebook clone. I don't need this class information, so I'll just remove this. And I don't need anything from the main section as well. So let me just remove the main section, and I don't need footer section as well. So let me just remove that as well. And I don't need home.module.css and next image, so I'll just remove that as well. And I will just remove the home.module.css as well. And if I go to the global.css, I don't need any styling as well. So these all things are removed, and if you see now, you can see nothing is there, all clean. And there is one error which says in the main there is a style, so let's just remove that as well. If I go back to index.js, in the main, let's remove this as well. So all clean. This is our blank slate. Now to create our UI, to create the layouts and everything, we are going to use the Tailwind CSS. So let's add the dependency of Tailwind CSS. So if you go to the Tailwind CSS, let's go here, let's go to the installation, and let's go to the framework guides and Next.js. So this project creation we already did. So what we need now is to install the Tailwind CSS. So let's just copy the commands. Let's go back and let's open the new terminal and let's hit these commands. And you can see that it is installed, and you can also see that tailwind.config.js is created. And if you go to the package.json, in the dev dependencies, Tailwind and post.css is added. Now what I need to do is I need to copy this information and I need to add this in the tailwind.config.js. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just copy paste this information, and I also need to add the styling. So all the directives I need to add. So let's just copy this and let's go to the global.css and let's add this. So once this is done, you just need to restart your application. All good, your Tailwind CSS is configured and you are good to go to create your beautiful UI. Now we need few more dependencies as well. So let's go ahead and add all the dependencies. So we are all good to go. We can only concentrate on coding part. So the other dependency that I need is the React icons. So if you just search for React icons, okay, this is the one that we are going to use, and you can see this all different types of icons are available. So we are going to add the dependency for that. So for the installation, this is the one command. So let's just copy this command and let's add this dependency. So I'll just add this npm install react icons save. So if I go to the package.json, React icons is added. Now I need to add the Next-Auth as well. So let me just go to the Next-Auth and get started. Go to the npm. This is the one. So let me just copy this and let's add that as well. So we have just added the Next-Auth as well for adding our authentication. Okay, Next-Auth is added. Now I need the Axios library to call my backend APIs. Okay, so let me just search for Axios here and npm install Axios. So let me just copy this and let's add that as well. And you can see that Axios is also added. Now the other thing I need is the React-Redux and Redux Toolkit. So let's go ahead and add that as well. React-Redux npm install React-Redux. So I'll just copy this and I will add that as well. React-Redux is added and I need the Redux Toolkit as well. So I'll just add Redux Toolkit. So this is the one at the Redux.js Toolkit. So I'll just copy this and let's add this. So you can see that all the dependencies are added. We are good to go. You can see what we added was we added the React icons to add our icons, what icons we want to use. Then what we did, we added the Next-Auth for our authentication purpose. We added the Axios to fetch our data from the backend API to connect our backend application. And then we added the React-Redux and Redux Toolkit to manage our state in the React application, because it's very tedious to handle the props dealing. So we'll see how Redux will benefit us and how we are saved from the props dealing in React. So this is all good. Now what we have to do is, I'll just close everything. So here what I'll do now is, for our React application, we'll be creating different components. So let me just create a folder that says components. And inside this components folder, we are going to create all the components. So let's first create the header component. So inside this components, we are going to create the header component. I'll just define header.js. Okay. And I will create the component using the RAF CE snippet. Cool, right? Now, if you don't know from where it is coming, if you just go to the extensions, you have to install a bunch of extensions. So first is React-Redux ES7 one. So the ES7, this one, ES7 plus React-Redux React Native snippets. So just install this. The next is Tailwind CSS. Install this extension that will help you to get the IntelliSense or autocomplete for your Tailwind utility classes. Then you can add the prettier. Okay, this will help you to format your code, and you can also add the bracket color, this one, bracket per colorizer. So it will just change the colors of your bracket for starting and ending. So it is easier for you to see what's happening. So these are the extensions I've been using, and I'm using the VS Code Dark theme as well. So if you are interested, you can just download that as well. So with that being said, let's go to the Explorer. This is our header component. Now this particular header component we have to use in our index.js. So let's go to index.js, and here I will just add the header component. And you can see this header is from the components header. So we need to import that. So you can see that we just imported import header from components header. And now if I go to the headers.js, what it is, header in the div it's mentioned. So if I go back, let me just close all these tabs. And yeah, you can see that we are getting the header. So everything basic is working. Now let's build this. So yeah, let's build everything. We need the div, we need the top bar, and in the top bar there were three components. One was the left side, one was the middle side, and one was the right side. So those three components we will be building. Those three components will be three different divs all together. So inside this div there will be left component, there will be center component, and there will be right component. And for this div, let's add the class names. These all class names are the utility class from the Tailwind CSS. So you don't have to remember everything. It's very easy to understand. So what I need is, for this div, I need the background as white. So I'm just adding BG white. It will add the background as white, and you can just hover over, you can see what it is adding. You can see that it's adding the background color as RGB 255 255 255. Okay, now I need background as white. I need this as a flex. I need all the items should be center, and I need the padding of 2 in all the directions. I need the shadow of medium size, and I need to be at the top. Okay, so it should be at top 0, and this should be sticky. It should stick to the top of the browser. So whatever the header that we are creating, that should be sticky, and it should be on top of every component. So I am adding the z index of 50, and also let me just add the height. So height is 16. So you can see that nice, the 16 height bar is coming, and you can see nice shadow is also coming. Okay, so this is going to be your top bar. So now let's add the left component first. So let me just do view word wrap. Okay, so inside this now let's add the left component. So this also would be one div, and let me just add the class name. This should be also flex, and minimum width should fit. Now inside this div I need the logo. So let me add the logo. Logo is from the image tag. This image tag you can see is from the Next.js. So I'll just import the next/image, and for this we need to give the source. So we'll just give src equals to, I'll just give the URL of the Facebook logo. You can just Google it and you can add over here. And for this image tag you need to add the height and width. So let me just add height equals to 40 and width equals to 40. Cool, right? So let me just go back to my browser, and you can see that there is an error. What is the error is? It's the invalid source property. That's fine. What it is really telling is that we need to configure our application to use this domain to get the data for the image. So this is the domain upload.wikipedia.org. So this particular domain that we have to add in our configuration. So if we go back, you have to go to the Next.js config, and here in the configuration we have to add the host for the images. So here I'll just add the images, and this images will contain the domains, and I will just change this domain to our domain, whatever it was, upload.wikipedia.org. Okay, so once you do this, you need to restart your server because that's a configuration change. You can see that it's also saying that it's a configuration change, you need to restart. So let me just restart the server, and the server is restarted. Let me just close this file, and if I go back, refresh the page, you can see that I'm getting the image now. Cool, right? So my image is coming. So now let's build the rest of the things. So now beside the image tag, we need to have the search bar, right? So let's add the search bar for that. Here it will be div again, and inside this div let me add the class names, and this class name would be this again. It would be flex. All the items should be center. Now what I want is, I want inside this div, I need to have one icon, that is the search bar icon, and I want to have the input field as well. So let me first add the input field. So this input field is of type text, and I'll just add the placeholder equals to search Facebook. Okay, if you see now, you can see that this text box is coming now. Okay, so we need to make it more UI friendly. So let's go ahead and do that. But also that we need the search icon. So if you go here, if you go to the React icons, okay, if you want any icons, you can simply go to the search here. You can just say I need search icon. So you can see there are a lot of search icons. Whatever you want, whatever it's looking good for you, whatever it's feasible for your design, as per your complete design, you can use anything. Okay, whatever you want to select, just click on it and it will be copied, and you can directly paste it in your code and you can import that particular files. So what I'm going to use is, I am going to use the HI outline search. So let me just add it over here. So this is the HI outline search, and I need to import this. So I'll just import here, import this. Sorry, I need to copy this. And this will be from React icons /hi. So that's all good. Now you can see that it's all good. The size I've given is 20. And if I go back, you can see that the icon is coming. Cool, right? Now let's add the style for it. So let me just add the style for the div I have mentioned here. So what I need flex item center. I need the space as well in the X direction, space X of 2 for both my search icon and the input field. And I need the padding in X direction of 2. I need margin left from the Facebook icon to 2. Then I need rounded full. I need the entire div to be rounded. So I'll just add rounded full. Then I need background color of gray as 100. And then I need text gray of 500. Cool, right? All the classes I have added. If I go back, you can see that it's looking good now, right? But we need to hide this as well. And if I just change the size, that size also we need to handle. We need to make it responsive. So let's just go back. And what I need, as Tailwind CSS is mobile first, so what I want is this input field. I need to add the styling for that. So let me just add the class name. So what I want when it's a mobile size, right? This input field I don't want. So I'll just make it hidden. And then once it hits the LG, I need inline flex. And I need background as transparent. So whatever the background of div it is, I need to see that. And what I also want is, when I focus on it, I don't want the blue outline that I'm getting. So I'm just telling that outline should be none. Cool, right? So let's go back again, and you can see that I'm not getting any outline. And if I just change the size, you can see that the size is changing, right? Now let's add the center part. So in the center part, we will add again a div for that. And this div will have class name, and this would be again flex. And I'll just define that this should grow, because I need the center part to take as much space as possible. And just justify all the elements in the center, and the margin in the X direction as 2. So inside this div, I need another div to add all the different components. So this div will contain the class name as flex, and all the items should be center. And now this div would be for each and individual icons that I want to add. So this div will have class name as again flex items center. This should be height of 14, px of 4, and when it hits MD, the px should be of 10, rounded medium in MD, in the medium hover bg gray 100, and the cursor should be pointer. Okay, so this div is created. Now inside this div I need to have one icon. So let me just add the home icon. So I just need this icon, and I need to add the icon as well here. This icon is from the, not this one, sorry, this one. So this icon is from the, again, React icons high. So I just imported this, and if I go back, you can see that I'm getting this home icon, and if I hover over, I can see that on hover the background is slightly dark. Cool, right? And you can see that, as I have mentioned, flex grow, it's taking as much space as possible. Now let's add the other icons. And what I'll do, I'll add the class name here, and I need to make it in the center. So I'll just add mx auto. I'll just define the size as well as 25. So now you can see that it's a little bit bigger. Cool, right? So now let's add the other one. So let me just copy this div, and let's add 2, 3, 4. You can see that I got 4 home icons, but I need to change. So the next one I want is the flag icon. So I'll just add import ri flag line 2 from React icons ri. Okay, then I need is the video icon. So let me just add that as well. Import from MD. Okay, then I need the shop icon. Import from React AI. Okay, and then I need the game controller icon. So import from the IO. Okay, so these are all the icons that I need. So let me now just add the icons. So after this high outline home, I need the icon as flag. So I'll just add ri flag 2 line, and after that I need is the MD outline on demand video. After that I need is the AI outline shop, and one more I need. So let me just copy this. I'll just copy this, and one more I need is the IO game controller outline. Super cool, right? So if I go back, if I refresh, there is some error. That is for inbuilt components. You likely forgot to export the component from the file it's defined in. So there is some issue here. So let me just import it correctly. Let's check all the imports are correct. Okay, so let me just restart it. And it is restarted. And if I refresh, I'm getting the same error. I'm just getting that element type is invalid, expecting a string for built-in components. Okay, check your code at header.js line number 44. So if I go to the header.js line number 44, the IO game controller, the IO game controller from React. Okay, instead of IO file, let me just add. That would be the issue. Let me just add the size again to 25. Then class name again, let me just add to mx auto, and this should work. Yep, cool, right? You can see that now it is working. So your center bar is also created, and if I just scroll, you can see that it's completely responsive as well, because we have added the flex grow. So it will grow as much as possible, and it will try to shrink when we shrink here. Now what we want is, we want to add the right component as well. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So in the right bar, we will add one more div, and in this div we will add the class name equals to, your class name equals to flex item center, and I need all the things to justify at the end. So I'll just define justify end. I just want to do the minimum width to fit and I need space in x direction as 2. Okay, now inside this div I need to add one image one. So let me just copy the image from here. After that we will change the URL. So let me just copy this image, and after this image what I need, I want a paragraph tag, and here I should say it's Shabbir, the name of the user, and let's see what it is coming out. You can see that my logo is coming in the right direction and name is also coming. So let's change the properties for that as well. So my p tag should have the classes as well. So let me just define class name equals to, and what I want is when I am in the mobile, I don't want this. Okay, so I'll just make it is hidden, and I'll also show when I have a particular large screen. So by default it is hidden, and when it hits XL size I just want to display. So inline flex, the font is semi bold, text as SM, and white space, no wrap. I need padding of 3 and maximum width of XS. Okay, you can see now it's bold, and if I change the size you can see that it's hidden. Okay, now after that I need to add the other icons as well. So let me go ahead and add those icons. So I need first icon, that is the grid icon. So let me just add that. Import CG grid from React icon CG. Then I need AI fill message. Then I need the AI fill bell, and then I need one more, that is the MD outline expand more. So these are the icons that I need. Now let's add those icons here after the p tag. So after the p tag I need is CG menu grid 0, and I will define the size of the icon as 20, and then I'll define the classes as well. So what I need class name equals to, when it's small size, right, your screen is small in the mobile, I don't want those icons, so it will be hidden. When it hits the large screen I need all those icons, so I'll define as inline flex. Now I need height as 10, width as 10 for that icon, background to be gray of 200, text to be gray of 500 or maybe 600. I need completely rounded, so rounded full, and I need padding of 2. I need cursor pointer for that, and when I hover over I need to change background gray to 300. Simple, right? So if I check now you can see that this is the grid icon, and when I hover over you can see that it's changing the color and it's completely rounded, and when I just change the size it will be hidden. Okay, now I need the similar for the other as well. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this and I'll add one for fill message bell and one for the expand more. So let me just add, instead of CG menu grid 0 I need AI fill message, then I need AI fill bell, and then I need MD outline expand more. Okay, now if you can see your complete header is created. You can see now all the components are there, and if I just change the size you can see that all the things got hidden. These all components are in the center. You can see that search bar is also hidden, that entire input field is hidden, only the search icon is visible. So you can see it's completely responsive. So your header part is done. Now we will go ahead and implement your left sidebar. Now for the sidebar, let's create the another component. So I'll just create the sidebar.js, and here I'll do RFCE to create the arrow based functional component, and then I'll go to the index.js, and inside the main section I will just add the sidebar. So ideally what it will be always in the main section as left sidebar, then the feed, which will contain your create post and all the posts, and your right sidebar. This will be the components. So we will be adding the first left sidebar. So I'll just define the sidebar from the components slash sidebar. And what I'll do, I will just change the entire main section color. So I'll just define class name equals to flex, and that should be bg gray 100. Okay, so if I see now, you can see that the color is gray and this is white. Okay, now let's go ahead and build the sidebar. So if I go to the sidebar.js, what I need is, I need this sidebar to be of a particular width. When it hits the LG size, at that time only I need that to be visible. Rest all the times I want it to be hidden. So when it's a small device or mobile device, I don't want that sidebar. I just want to only concentrate on the main section. So I'll just define that way. So if I add the class names here, I'll just define it should be always hidden, and it should be only visible when it hits the LG. At the time it should be inline flex. So inside this div, I will just define one more div that will be a container that will contain all the items. So I'll just define this class name, and this should be flex. All the items should be center. The space between the items should be space x2. Padding in y direction 3. Padding in left direction is 4. When you hover over, background gray to be 200, and rounded left side as XL. Okay, so only your left side is rounded, your right side is not rounded, and cursor as pointer. Okay, and your main div, we need to define the height and width because we need those widths. So currently you can see that nothing is showing. So let's add the image and the contact information. So what I'll do, for now I'll just take the image from here, from the header component, and let me just add in the sidebar. Okay, inside this div, I'll just add the image component, which will have the source, the height, width, and class name. And this image should be rounded full, and cursor should be pointer. After this image, I need the p tag, which will have the username. So I'll just define Shabir Daudi. After, currently I'm just adding all the information static, but all the things will be coming from the Facebook once we add the login functionality. So for this p tag, I'll just define the class names. Class name equals to, it should be hidden, and when it hit SM, I just need inline flex, and font should be medium. Okay, and if I see, you can see that the image is not available, so I need to import that. So let me just import from the next image. Now if I refresh, you can see that I am able to see. So this is the right sidebar. Now you can see that when I hover over, there is no proper padding and there is no minimum size and everything. So we need to add that. So let's add all those stuffs. So here in the main div tag, we need to add all those things. So we need to add all this type of components in the column. So this entire flex has to be flex call. So I'll just define this as a flex call. Padding in y direction is 2. Padding left as 2. So you can see now there is a proper padding. Now we need to make it right side as also proper. So what I'll do, maximum width is XL by default, and when it hits LG, minimum width is of 320 pixels. So when you want to add any particular values, you can add in the square brackets. Now you can see that there is still issue because I just added the LF instead of LG. Now it should be proper. You can see that proper width is coming now. And when I just change the size, you can see that it's not visible. Okay, entire sidebar is gone. Okay, cool, right? Now what I want is I want another this div tag. I need to stack all the things together. I need to have the another component. So let me just add that. I'll just add one more div. And inside this div, I need to add the icon. So let me just add one of the icon, and this would be the users icon I want to add. So I'll just import here, import IAM users icon from React icons IAM. And inside this div, I'll just define IAM users and class name equals to height of 8, width of 8, text blue color of 500. Okay, and after this I need paragraph tag which says users, and this paragraph tag will again have a class name, and this will be hidden with SM, inline flex, and font should be medium. And this div will have again class name. This should be flex. All the items should be center. Space between the two items should be space x2. Padding in y direction of 3. Padding left as 4. The same that we added for the earlier. When I hover over, background gray of 200. Rounded, L direction as XL, and cursor pointer. Okay, you can see that this is the user coming now. But what I need is I want to have multiple. Okay, so instead of creating all these divs multiple, I can create the component of it. Okay, so let's create the component for it. I can call it a component as a sidebar item. So let me just create sidebar item .js, and here what I'll do, I'll create a component rfce, and whatever was here, I'll just copy this, Control X, I'll go to the sidebar item and I will paste here. Okay, and this sidebar item I will add in the sidebar. So here I'll just add the sidebar item, and here I can add the props. So this props, whatever I will add here, that can be used in the sidebar item, because what I need, this sidebar item has to be dynamic, right? So whatever the icon that I pass and whatever the value that I pass, that has to be rendered directly. I don't want a particular IAM users icon. So this IAM users I can pass from the sidebar JS as the icon, and value I can pass as users. Okay, so these are the two props that I'm passing. So these two props I can take in the sidebar item. I can take as the input props here, that this is the icon and the other one is the value. Okay, instead of now IAM users, I can pass this as an icon, and instead of giving users here, I can pass it as a value. You can see that how awesome this is, right? If I go to the sidebar, and you can see that I should see the same thing, right? If I refresh also, you can see it's same thing. So my sidebar component, sidebar item is created dynamically. Now I need to add multiple things here. So let me just add the other icons, and I can add all the fields. So what I need is, I need to have a group icon. So I'll just import MD groups from the React icons MD. I need shop icon. So I'll just define import AI shop icon from React icons AI. Then I need the MD online on demand video. Then I need the stopwatch, so I'll just import from React icons BS. Then I need the expand more icon as well. So all these icons I need. So all the information I need to pass from here. So what I'll do, I'll just duplicate all the things here. One for MD groups, okay. Then I need for the MD on, okay. Then I need for the MD expand more, okay. But before that I need couple of more. So instead of users, I'll be defining this as a friends. And friends groups, I need sidebar item and icon as marketplace. And this should be AI outline shop. Then I need the watch value, okay. MD online on demand video, that should be watch. After that I need is the stopwatch. So let me just add the stopwatch as well. Now you're seeing that all the things are automatically coming, right? These are coming from the GitHub Copilot. So I need the BS stopwatch, but the value should be memories. So you can see that it won't be always perfect what you need, but it will give you a lot of information. So a lot of things you don't have to type everything, right? And I need expand more, and that says see more. Okay, cool. All the icons are there, all the sidebar items I have added. Now if I go back, you can see that all the things are coming perfectly fine. Now don't worry, we will be changing few of the things here, that the name and the icon here, the image here, all the things will be coming from the Facebook. So don't worry, we will be changing all those information. But with this all code, you can see that your left side sidebar is created and it's also dynamic. Okay. Now before we add the implementation of the feed, let's add the Next.js authentication, and let's add the authentication for Facebook. So once we authenticate, then only we will be able to log in. Okay, so let's implement that first. So what we will do, I will go to the Next-Auth and getting started. So what I want to do is I want to add the authentication. I already added the dependencies, so we need to add the API routes. So now for that we have to create this path. So inside the pages API folder, we need to add the one more folder auth, and inside that we need to create this file. So let's create that. So here inside this API folder, I need to create one more folder that says auth, and inside this auth I need to create this file that is the Next-Auth.js. So let's just copy this file name same as it is and create a new file. Okay, and let's copy this content. Okay, now currently you can see this example is for GitHub, but we need the Facebook provider. So what I'll do, I'll just change the Facebook provider from the Facebook, and this Facebook provider I'll just add here. This is the Facebook provider, and this would be your Facebook client ID, and this would be your Facebook client secret. Okay, so these are the two fields that we have to provide. And if you want to have another providers, you can always go ahead and add more providers. So your authentication file is created. Now you need to add some more fields. So what we will do is we need to add the configuration, that is the client ID and secret ID from Facebook, which we got from the Facebook, and we need to add in the environment file. So you can see that we are getting this value from the process.n.facebook client ID. So ideally when you're working with the production, you will be creating the environment variables, and there you will be adding these fields. But in our local, we can create the local environment file and you can add there. So let me just show you how to do that. So for that, just create the file in the root directory that says .env.local. Okay, now what we will do, we will go to the browser, we'll go to the Facebook developer, login, go to my apps, and here what you can do is you can create your app. You can see I already have one app. If you want, you can create the app. So just click on create app, click on this consumer that connects consumer products and permission like Facebook login, Instagram basic display to your app. So I just want this because I want to log in and I want to get the basic information. So I'll just click on consumer, I'll click next. You can name the app. I can say Facebook clone and create app. I'll just name FB YouTube clone, create app. Okay, you are not able to use it. So what you can do, I can just say dummy clone. You can give any name, okay, based on the terms and condition. Okay, now you can see that your app is created. What you have to do is now you need to add the Facebook login. So you need to set up the Facebook login. So just set up Facebook login and go to web, and here you need to give your site URL. So just give the localhost 3000, save, continue, next, and here you can see that these are all the information that you can use for configuration. So that's all the information. So you can just go next, just it is giving you the information. Ideally what you have to do is now you need to go to settings, go to the basic settings, and from here you will get your app ID and your app secret. So don't share this with anyone, okay? What you have to do is now you need to use this app ID and app secret. So if you go to your VS Code and in this environment.local, this is the Facebook client ID equals to Facebook client secrets. These are the fields that you will give, and one more field you have to give is the Next-Auth URL equals to the URL of your application. So these three fields you have to give. For Facebook client ID, you can get the ID from here, that is the app ID, and secret you can get from here. Now I will be deleting this application so you won't be able to use it. You can create for your own. Okay, so Facebook client ID and Facebook client secret, this information I've added. Save the file, close the file. Now we have configured the Facebook client ID and Facebook secret ID for our application. Now we need to tell the Next.js that we are going to use this, so maintain the session for us. So for that, we will go to app.js. We'll go to app.js, and what we will do is we will wrap this component with the session provider. And this session provider you will get from import session provider from Next-Auth React. So this is the session provider that you have to use, and I will give this at the bottom. Okay, and for this session provider we need to pass the session as well. So what I'll do, I will just pass session equals to page props dot session. Okay, now if I go to the index.js, what I have to do is I need to define the server-side properties which will get the session from the context and it will set it. So if I go to the index.js, and at the bottom I can define export async function get server side props. This will take the context, and we'll just define constant session equals to await get session. This get session you can see it's from the Next-Auth/React, and this will take the context session object once you logged in from the Facebook that we are getting from the server side props from the server side rendering, and we will directly inject to our component. So once we get the session, we will return this session as a props. Okay, So here in this home, we will define session. Now, once we get the session here, we need to see if we have the session, then that's fine. You can log into the application. You can already are in the application. If not, if you don't have the session, then you need to redirect back to the login page. And from that login page, you need to log in to the application, right? So I'll just define if not session. If you do not have the session, then return login component. Okay, we do not have the login component yet, but we will define it. So you can see that we just defined that if we do not have session, return the login component. If we have, then the entire application will be rendered. Simple as it is. So now let's create the login component. So I'll just define login.js or FCE. And if I go back to the index.js, let's import the login. Okay. Now if I go back to login.js, I need to add the configuration. I need to add the page. So what I'll do inside this div, I'll just add the image tag. And this image tag is from the next/image. And the src source I'll give as the logo of the Facebook. Okay. You can just directly copy and paste it. So let me just do that. And I'll just give the height attribute as 240, width attribute as 240, and I'll give one anchor tag that says class name equals to px of 20, py of 4, because I need a bigger button. Okay, then z index of 10, text to XL, cursor as pointer, -empty -16, background color blue of 500, background color of blue 500, rounded medium, and text as white. Okay, and the text I'll give as login. And let's add the class name for our main div as well, that this is flex and flex call. All the items should be center and all the items should be in the center of the page. So margin I'm giving as auto. Okay, now as this is a new domain, this domain has to be added in our nextconfig.js. So let me just add the domain. Okay, and if I go back again to my login.js, this is my login.js, and now when I click on login, I need to sign in. So for that, what I will do, I will just define on click sign in. So here you can see that this sign in is from the Next-Auth/React. So once you import this, okay, and once you click on this button, it will be directly redirect back to the sign in page of the Next-Auth, and there whatever the providers that you have defined, those providers will be displayed there, and with any of the providers you can directly log in. For now we have only defined the Facebook provider, so only login with Facebook will come. Okay, simple. We added all the Next.js authentication and everything, libraries and everything. We just defined that for our entire app.js we have to maintain the session. This session will come from the page props.session, and for our index.js file, what we did the server-side rendering. And once the login is completed, right, once the login is completed, from the request itself, from the context itself, we are getting the session back. And once we get the session, we are injecting that session to our component, and we are checking. If we do not have session, redirect to the login page, but if we have the session, render our entire application. Okay, now as we have changed the configuration of the Next.js, we need to restart the server. So let me just close the server and start the server again. And if I go here, if I go to the Facebook clone, if I refresh, there is some issue, nothing was returned from the render. This usually means a return statement is missing. Okay, So if we go to the app.js, yes, you can see that this is the issue. The return is missing. So what we have to do is I have to add this way. Okay. Now it should work. You can see that we are getting the login page, that is the login with Facebook. So once I click on login, you can see that this is the Next-Auth page where whatever the authentication providers that you have defined, all the providers all will come here. There is only Facebook, so we'll just sign in with Facebook. So currently there is some issue, so let me just check that. So what we have to do is whatever we have defined in our environment local variables, the same thing we have to give in our Next-Auth. Okay, Facebook client secret and Facebook client ID. Okay, so this was the issue, the spelling mistake. Now if I refresh, let me just restart the server, login, sign in with Facebook, and here you can see that it is asking for the review. Okay, I'll continue as Shabir because this is a dummy clone that we have created and it is asking for the access. Continue as Shabir, and it is redirected back to our application. Cool, right? Now with this we will be needing the image that we are using and the name that we are getting. Okay, we can get all those information, so let's use those information. So what we can do, so this type of issue happened, right? You need to make sure that whatever the values, the environment variables that you are using it correctly. Okay, so now we need to get the image and the name from the Facebook authentication, and that I have to use here as well and here as well. So let's use that. This is the header, so let's go to the header first, and here to get the session what we have to use is we have to use the use session hook. So you can see that use session is from the Next-Auth React. So let's import that, and what we will get from the use session is constant. We'll get the data from the session. Okay, we are just taking the session data. Now we get everything from this session. So what I can do is I can use this session here. So if I go down, scroll down in the right side, for this image I need to get the image. So I'll just remove this, and in the src I'll just define if session is there, then get the user from that session and image. Okay, and the same thing what I need is here session dot user dot name, and I only need the first name. So what I'll do, I'll just do split with space, and from that take the 0th element. Okay, now let's go and see what's happening. You can see there is an error, so because we need to have this domain to be added. So let's go back and add the domain in the next.config.js. So I'll just add the domain, and I just don't need this thing. Okay, the domain is added as we need to restart it. So let's just restart the server. Server is restarted. Let's go and refresh the page, and voila, you can see that it is coming fine. We need to do some corrections, but it is coming, right? So let's do that correction. So what we need is we need to go back and go to the header.js, and for this image we need to add the class name hidden, whatever we have added, plus we can do rounded full. Okay, I added it in the wrong place, so that's fine. I'll just remove from here, and here I'll add the class name equals to rounded full, and I'll just define cursor as pointer. Cool, right? You can see that now it is completely working fine. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll also do one thing. When you click on this image, I'll call this sign out functionality. So I'll just define sign out, and this sign out will be from the Next-Auth/React. Okay, so you can see that when you click on sign out, you'll be sign out of the application and you are back to the login page. Click on login with Facebook, and you are back into your application. Okay, super cool, right? Now the same thing you have to add in your sidebar as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go to the sidebar.js, and here also I will take the session. So I'll just use session hook. Use session hook is from the Next.Auth React. Constant data from session, and this session I can use in the source. I can use this way. If session is there, then .user.image, and here as well, instead of name I can define, if session is there, then user.name. Okay, you can see that it's coming fine, right? You can see that your authentication is done. You are now successfully able to log in with Facebook, and you are getting all the information from Facebook, and you are displaying that as well. Now let's implement the feed in the center part. So I'll go back to index.js, and this is where you need to add your feed. So let's add the feed component. I'll just create this feed component, feed.js rfce, and if I go back to the index.js, let's import the feed. Okay, and in the center you should be getting this. Now let's implement this. So inside this feed, this is the main div, and here I can define class name equals to flex grow. Now why flex grow? Because I need to use the maximum information. I need to use the maximum space available, because at the end I will be just having the right sidebar. Okay, so this center portion will take the maximum space as it was taking at the above point. So we'll be using the flex grow. Now H screen we will be using because I need to use the maximum screen also available. So I'll just define that it's a flex grow. H should be screen. Padding top is 6. Margin right is 6. Overflow in Y direction as auto. Okay, so you can see that it's using complete your height, and we have also defined that overflow as auto, so you can scroll as well. Now inside this div, we need again one div. I'll just define the class name equals to, all the things should be in the center, all the components. Maximum width should be of medium, and once you hit the medium, maximum width should be of XL, and when you hit large, maximum width should be of 2XL. Okay, so we are just defining like what would be the width of a content that will be displayed in the center part. Okay, now within this, what you will do is you can have two components, that is the create post box component, and you will be having all the posts as well. Okay, so these are the two things you will be adding. One will be to add the input to add the data, and one will be all the posts available. So this will be your feed box. So let's create the create post component. So I'll just define create post component. So all the things related to create post will be inside this component. So let's create the create post component. I'll just create a new file, create post.js rfce to create the component. Go back to the feed.js and import the create post. Okay, now this will be to create the post section. So let's go to the create post section. If you see here, this is something that you need to add your post. So let's add that. So this is the main div. Let's add the class name informations. Your background should be white, rounded MD. Your shadow should be medium. All the text should be gray 500. Padding in all direction I need Y, and that's it. Now inside this div I need another div. For that I'll just define class name equals to flex, padding as 4, space access 2, and all the items should be center. Okay, now what? So this is the component. You can see that this is what we are building. Now what I need is I need the image here. Okay, my logged in image, and after the image I need the input field, what data I want to input. So for getting the image, what I'll do, I'll just go to the header section. I'll just copy this image. I'll go back to the create post and I'll add the image here. I'll import the image. I don't need the unclick functionality, and I need the session as well. So let me just grab the session as well from here. If I scroll up, this is the session that I need. So let's get that. Okay, let's import the use session as well. So I got the image now. Now after that I need to have the form. I'll just define form class name equals to flex1, and here inside this form I need to have the input field, and here input type equals to text, and here you can see that this is the input type equal to text coming, and this is the image that you are getting here. Now for input type text I need to define the placeholder. So let me just define the placeholder, and placeholder I'll define as, and I'll just add in the backtick, and I'll say what's on your mind $. I'll just say session dot user dot name and question mark. Okay, so here you can see that it will be coming as what's on your mind Shabir Dawoodi. And let's add the class name properties and define all the class. Class should be rounded full, height of 12, rounded full, height of 12, flex grow, so it will take all the space, flex grow. So you can see that it took all the space now. Now I need to remove this highlighting as well. So I'll just tell when you focus, outline as none. Okay, so you can see that outline is gone now. I need to add the font as medium, BG, gray 100, and padding in X direction as 4. So you can see that it's looking super cool. Okay, now with this input field, within this form we need to have a submit button. So let me just create the button, and this button will be hidden button. Okay, because I don't want to display this button. Whenever you hit enter, we should be able to submit the data. So we will be adding the on click functionality also for this. Now let's add the below functions as well, below buttons as well. So what I'll do, after this div I'll just define one more div, and just define class name equals to flex, and within this div I need to add the couple of buttons. So I'll just define div, and here I need to have couple of icons. So let me just import the icons. So I just need the video camera icon, then I need the photo icon, and then I need the emoji smiley as well. Okay, so these are the icons that I need. So let me just add all those fields over here. Inside this div I'll just add the icon, and this is what the icon is coming. Okay, and we need to make sure that the icon is coming properly. So that's what we have to do. So let's add the properties for that. Let's add the styling for that. So what I need inside this div, whatever the components that we add, we need those components to be spaced evenly. So I'll just tell that everything inside this has to be justified evenly, and padding in y direction as 2. And for this class name, all the things is flex and all the items should be center, and padding of 1, space between the two items as space x1, flex grow, and justify center. Okay, you can see that it's coming this way. Now let's add the properties as well. So what I'll do, I'll just define size equals to 20. So you can see that it's a little bit bigger. Now I'll just define the class name as well. I want this of a text red color. It should be text red of 500. Okay, cool. Now after this, I need to have a p tag that says live video. Okay, and for this p tag, let's add the class name as font should be semi bold and text should be gray 600. Okay, now when you hover over it, we need to add the background as well. So let's add that. When you justify center, after that, when you hover over bg gray 100, should be rounded MD, and hover over cursor should be pointer. Okay, you can see that it's coming this way. Now we need to add the other components similar to it. So what I will do is, I will just grab this div, copy this, paste and paste. You can see that I need 3. So now here 3. Now let's change the information. So now instead of high outline video camera, I need IOMD photos, and this should be of green color. Sorry, not this one. This should be of green color. So let me just do this. This should be of green color, and the last one I need is the smiley. So this would be BS emoji smiley, and this would be of yellow color. Okay, so you can see that it's looking quite good, right? So you can see that your input field is done, but we need to change the information as well. So let me just change that. Instead of live video, we need to tell feeling or activity, and instead of live video here, it should be photo or video to be added. Feeling activity, photo, video, video. And when you can see that it's completely responsive, right? Now we need to add the post as well. So whatever the post you do, we need to add that as well. So let's handle that. So what we will do is, when we go to the feed, now we need to add the post. So let's add the post component. So this is the post that we need to add. So let's create the component that is the post. So I'll just create a file, post.js rfce, to create the component. So here, this is the post. Now there will be multiple posts, so we need to have the another component that can be looped through over here when we get the data. So what I'll do, I will define one more post, and that post will be called here. Okay, so let me just create one more post.js, that would be rfce. And if I go to post.js, here all the posts should be looped and the post should be called. Simple. So what I'll do, for now I have only one, so let me just call post. Okay, and we have imported the post. Okay, so if you go to the post, now we need to build this post. Currently if you see, there is some error because we have not imported the post. So let's just add that. Okay, so if we go to the feed, we need to import the posts. Okay, if we refresh, it should come. You can see that it's coming here, so we need to handle here. So let's go to the post. Inside this post, let's go to the post and let's build this post, because this will be in the multiples. So this is the main container, right? So I'll just define class name. This should be flex, and this should be flex call because it will be in the vertical way. And inside this, let's define the div and class name, because this should be background white, margin top of 6, rounded medium, and padding of 4. So this is your container main post. Now here in this, what you need is you need the profile picture, the name and the timestamp, and then the entire post itself. So let's start building this. So inside this div, we need one more div, this class name. This should be flex and items center. And here I need the image. So let me just take the image tag and I'll just define the class name equals to rounded full, width of 10 and height of 10, and I need to give the source as well. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the header.js, and for now I'll just give the logo of the Facebook. This is for now. We will add other details as well later. Okay, don't worry. So let me just add in the post.js, in the image src equals to, okay, you can see that the image is coming. Now I need the name and the date beside that. So after the image, I need date and name to be in the vertical, so I need to be wrapped in the div. So inside this div, I need p that says Shabir Daudi, and after that time of post. Okay, so I'll just define new date dot get time dot to local string. Okay, you can see that the date is coming. Now we need to make sure that it's looking good. So let's add the style sheet for this. So what I'll do for this, I'll define class name equals to font medium, and for this paragraph tag, I'll just define class name equals to text should be very small and text should be gray of 500. So you can see that now it is much more cleaner. Now I need to give the space as well. So let's add the space x of 2. So now there is a space as well. Now after this, I need to add the content of my post and the image if I have any image added. So after this div, what I need is I need the paragraph tag, and here something lorem ipsum. Okay, and here it is, right? So I need to add the proper details as well for this. So what I'll do, I will just give the style for this as well. I'll just say class name equals to padding in y direction is 4. It looks much cleaner now. After this, we need to add the image. So after this div, let me just add the div tag and just to define if there is any image. So I'll just define if any image. It will be defined here. Okay, so inside this div tag, I'll just define class names, and it should be relative, and I'll just define height of 60, and in the medium it should be height of 96, and background of white. Inside this div, we need to have the image tag. So I'll just define the image tag of a Next.js. So this image, I close it off, src. Let me just give any image URL. So I'll just go to the pixels, photo, copy image address, and I'll define here. Okay, and what I need is I need to add this images.pixel.com to the next config as well. So let me just add that, and I need to restart my server. So let me just restart it. So you can see that it is coming this way, and you can see that it is asking to add the width and height. So let's add that. So for this image, what I will do, I will just say layout equals to fill, because I need to fill completely. Okay, and I'll just define object fit equals to cover. So you can see that it's looking lot much like a post, right? You have your image, whoever has created the post, that will come. We will be adding that, the name, who created the post, the timestamp, the post content, and the image if it has any. Now below that there will be buttons to like, share, and comment, something like that, right? So let's add the footer for that. So what we will do, we will go ahead and add the footer here. So this will be the footer of a post. In here, let's add the div tag, and class name equals to flex items center. And here, let's create a div. Class name equals to flex item center, and inside this we need the icon and the text. So let's add the icon. So I need the like icon, so that's the thumbs up. So I'll just import that, import fi thumbs up. Now don't worry, if you don't know which icon it is, you just go to your browser, React icons, and just search with like. Okay, you can see that a lot of things you are getting. You can use anything from here, okay, directly. Then I need is the comment one. Then I need is the share button. Okay, so let me just use the first one here. Inside this div, let me just add the button, and if you see here, it is coming the button. So we need to make sure that it looks good. So let's add the styling for that. So for this, let's define the class name equals to height of 4. Okay, the button is little bit more bigger, and after that we need to have the p tag that says like. Okay, like. Now for this, let me add the class name equals to text as small, and when you hit SM, text should be base. Okay, now let's add the spacing. So space x of 1, you can see there is a little bit of space, and here once the items are center, we'll just justify into center as well. Justify center, background of white, and padding of 2. Okay, you can see that now it is center. And here after space x of 1, what we will do, over background of gray 100. So once you hover over, you can see that you're getting a little bit of background, but we need to make sure that it's correct. So what I'll do, I'll just define flex grow. It should take the maximum available position. Justify center, padding of 2, rounded XL, and cursor pointer. Not much, okay? You can see that now it is looking quite good. Now we need to add the similar thing for the comment and the share button. So let's just copy that information. So what I'll do, this div, I need to make sure that it is 3 times. One for like, comment, and share. Okay, like, comment and share. Now let's change the icon type. So instead of the FI thumbs up, I need to have the FA regular comment and RI share button. Okay, now you can see that it's like, comment and share. Now let's change the text as well. It's like, comment and share. So here you can see that like, comment and share, and your middle section is ready. You can see that it's completely responsive, right? Super cool, right? Now what we will do is we will create the right sidebar as well. So let's go ahead and add the right sidebar as well, and then we will do this completely with the Spring Boot implementation. So stick around. So now let's add the right sidebar. So let's go to the index.js. Sorry, not index.js. Yes, index.js. And here we need to add the right sidebar. And let's add the component. So I'll just create the right sidebar.js. RFCE. I'll go back to the index.js and let's import the component. Okay. And if you go to the page, you can see that your right sidebar is coming, right? So now let's add the right sidebar implementation. So I'll go to the right sidebar from here, and your right sidebar is also similar to your left sidebar. It should not be visible from one point to one point, like when the size is very small. This right sidebar should not be visible, and from the MD point, that is the medium, your right sidebar should be visible, and it should have the minimum width as well, that it should be of 200 pixels, not more than that. Okay, so let's implement that. So what I will do, I'll just remove this and let's add the class name. It should be hidden and in the mobile, and it should be only visible when it hits MD. At the time it should be inline flex, and this should be flex call because all the components will be laid out together. Now here inside this div, let's add another div that says class name equals to flex item center, and text should be gray of 500, and this should have p tag that says contacts. So if you see, the contact is coming, right? So spelling is incorrect, so let's correct it out. CONTACTS. Now this paragraph tag should have class name equals to flex, text should be LG, font should be semi-bold, and flex grow. Okay, now after this paragraph tag, there has to be a lot of buttons. So for that, we will be adding the div tag, and inside, and this, for this div tag will be giving, it should be flex space x of 1 and px of 2. So we are just giving a little bit of space between all the components within this, and this will contain the icons. So let's add the icons which we need. So what I need is the video add fill, then I need the search icon. So I'll just say import, and I need the more icon. Okay, so inside this div, let me add the icon, that is the RI video fill. Okay, you can see that this is the icon now. But now what I need is this contact I need at this particular point, and rest of the components I need at the right side. So we need to justify all those things. So let's do that way. What I'll do for this div, I'll just define class name equals to rounded full, padding of 2. When you hover over, background gray of 200, and cursor should be cursor pointer. Okay, you can see that cursor pointer. Okay, now what I need is, in the main div we have defined that it's a flex and flex call. We need to define that padding top is of 4, so you can see that there is a padding on the top, and I can say max width of XL, and when you hit medium, minimum width of 200 pixels. You can see that now the width increased, right? And when you hit large, minimum width of 250 pixels, so it will be little bit more as well. You can see that now it's little bit more from that. Cool, right? Now what I'll do, we just added the one icon, so let's add other icon as well. So I'll just copy this and I'll add one more and I'll add one more. So you can see that there are 3 icons and it is coming at this particular point. Now let's change the icon. I need video add fill, and then I need the search icon, and then I need the more icon. So you can see that search, video and more. Cool, right? Now it's looking really cool. This is the contact section, and now below that we need the list of contact information. So let's add the contacts. So let's go ahead and create the component that is says contacts. So here I'll define contacts component, and let's create the contacts component, contacts.js rfce, and if you go here, let's go to the right sidebar and let's import the contacts, and you can see that this contact is coming here. So we need to build all these contacts. This contacts will have the image of a contact and the name of the person. Okay, so let's build this component now. So I'll go to the contacts, and here this div would be, again I'll define class name equals to flex item center, and inside this I need the image tag. Okay, now with this contacts information, what we need is the image and the name. So what I'll do, I need to have multiple contacts, right? So these 2 particular things I'll inject as the properties. So here I need to inject 2 properties, that name and src. Okay, so if I go to the right sidebar, and here in the contacts I can define that contacts src equals to whatever the source, and the name equals to Shabir Daudi, and the source image as well, I will just give one source image. Okay, and if I go back to contacts, this is where we need to build it. So let's go ahead and build this contacts. All the items are center, and then I need to have the image tag. So let's add the image tag, and this image is from the next/image, and the src equals to src. I'll just define height equals to 40, width equals to 40, class name equals to rounded full, and cursor pointer. Okay, and here you can see that it is coming here. Now we need to add the little bit of padding and everything as well, so let's do that. So here we will define the padding space x of 2, and padding in y direction of 2, and padding left of 1. Okay, it's looking cool. Now what I'll do, I'll just add the hover background as well. So when you hover over, bg gray of 200, rounded left with XL, okay. When you hover over, you can see that now it's coming correctly. Now we need to pass the name as well. So let's go ahead and add the name. So here after the image tag, we need to add the paragraph tag, and this will be the name. So here you can see that the name is coming now. But what we will do for this name, I'll just define class name equals to hidden sm inline flex, and text should be small. Okay, it's cool. And here what I'll do, I'll just define cursor pointer as well. So now it's entire cursor pointer, right? So now if we have multiple of it, we can do this way. So if I go to the right sidebar, and if I just copy this contact information, Shabir, Nikhil, Gupta, Shivam, Kumar, Priyanka Singh. Okay, you can see that these are all the different contact information. Now let's change the image as well. Okay, let's copy image address. I'll just copy this information here. Copy image address. Copy image address again, and voila, cool, right? You can see that it's looking really cool. Now one more thing that we can add over here is all the contact information should have the status as well, like it's either it is online or offline, right? So to make that it's very easy, I'll just show you how to do that. What we need to do is we need to have a little green circle which is relative, which is absolute to the position of this entire circle. Okay, so if I zoom it, okay, and we'll keep this way so we will be able to see it correctly. So if I go to the right sidebar now, what I'll do is after this paragraph tag, I will just add one div, and this will be having class name equals to bg green of 500, and the height is of 4 and width is of 4 and rounded full. Okay, so if you see, the green button is coming over here. Okay, now I'll just say this is the absolute position. So here you can see that the absolute position is coming here. But what I'll do, I will just make sure that this absolute position is to the relative to my entire div. So I'll just define that this is the relative position from here. Okay, now what I'll do, I just need to give that I need to have at this particular point. So I'll just define that this green should be at the left of 5. Okay, you can see that now it's left of 5. Now I need to do the bottom as well. So what I'll do, I'll just say that it should be of bottom 2. So now you can see that it's at the right position. Now what I need is I need a cutout as well. Okay, here. So I'll just define that it's of border 2. So you can see that now it's looking really good, right? Now one more thing I need to do is I need to make sure that this green is when the user is online, and can make this as a gray as well when the user is offline. So I can pass this status information and I can make this out as a available as a green, available as an online, or available as an offline status for the user. So what I'll do, I will go to the right sidebar, and for each and every contacts, I'll just pass one more props, that is status equals to online or offline. Okay, so let me just copy this. This user is online, this user is online, this user is offline, and this user is online. Okay, 3 users are online, 1 user is offline. And this particular status I can take as the input property here. Okay, and here I can define this way as if status equals to online, and I'll just copy this and paste here. Okay, if status is online, show this, and I'll just copy this, and if status equals to offline, show this, where I'll just change the color from green to gray. Okay, and if I check here now, you can see that the first two are online, then offline, and then online. Okay, you can see that now it's looking really cool, right? So you can handle the status as well this way, and you can see how it is easy to handle this. And this is completely responsive. You can see that it's completely responsive, right? Now what we will do is we will implement the functionality to handle the post request as well. So whatever the post that we will do, it will be saved to the database and we will get all the information back here. Now what we will do is whatever we write over here, whatever the information that we have to store as a reference, store as a state, plus whatever we upload a photo, that also we want to store. And when you hit enter, those information should be wrapped around in the form data, and that should be sent to the backend application via Axios library. So let's first create the form data and everything, and then we'll create the backend application to receive those data. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just come over here in my VS Code, and I will come to my create post. Okay, so what here I will do is I will create one useref hook, useref from React, and the default value would be null, and I will say this as a constant input ref. And I will also take one more constant hidden input, hidden file input equals to useref, which is null. So I have taken two reference over here, and these two reference I will be using. So let me just use this input ref to the input field here. So I'll just define this ref equals to input ref. Okay, and for the hidden file input, what I'll do, I'll just scroll down here, and this entire center portion, when you click on this entire center portion, I need to handle a click event. Okay, this is not a file, but what I want to do is I want to mimic when I click on this, I will again click on the hidden input file that I have, and that will open the pop-up box to select a file. So when I click on this entire MD photos, that is the entire div, right? This entire on click, I need to handle a click event for this. So I'll just create one handle click also for this. And what I'll do, I will also create one input tag here, for which type is file and hidden. And what I'll do, I'll just tell that this only accepts image/star. So it won't allow to upload anything than the image. Okay, because we are only handling the image for now. And also we will add the reference as well. So reference equals to hidden file input. Okay, so let's handle the handle click event first. So what I need is when you click on handle click, hidden file input dot current dot click. Okay, this should be clicked. So if we check here, hidden file input is not defined. Okay, there is a spelling mistake, that's why, no problem, we'll just correct it. Okay, and now when you click this entire section, okay, that didn't work because we just had some mistake over here. This has to be type equals to file here. Now it should work. Okay, you can see that now the dialog box is coming. Now when we select any file, we need to display the file as well. So let's handle that. So what we will do, we will create one state that will store the file. So here I will create one state, and here I'll just say this is image to post. Okay, and this would be null in the starting. Now what I want to do is, when you come here, when you on your input field, right? So whenever there is a change, right? So on change, I need to call add image to post. So whenever there is a change in this input field, that particular image will be stored in the state. So let me just create one method for that. So what I'm doing here, constant add image to post, and constant, what I'm doing, constant reader equals to new file reader, and if e dot target dot files of 0, then reader dot read as data URL, and inside this I'll just pass e dot target dot files of 0, and reader dot onload equals to, once the onload is there, set image to post e dot target dot result. Okay, now whatever the file that I have selected, that particular file is there in my image to post. Okay, now what I want to do is, I'll create one more component here. Okay, so what I want to do is, when there is image to post, okay, whenever the image is set, at that time I want to have one div which displays the image. So I'll just define, inside this div there is an image tag, and here the src would be image to post, class name equals to height of 10, and object contain. And for this div tag, I just define class name equals to flex item center, px of 4, padding of y of 2, space x of 4, filter. When you hover over, change the brightness 210, transition of duration of 150 seconds, and cursor as pointer. Nothing fancy, it just when you hover over, it will be a little bit of brighter, and it will take 150 milliseconds to change that. Okay, I'll show you what it is happening. So when you select any image, you can see that it is coming over here, but it's not correctly coming, so we need to make sure that it's coming correctly. Okay, but here that image will come. So in this image src, I need to pass this way, so it will come the image. Okay, now image is coming. Now I will add the delete button if I want to delete that image, and if I want to select a new image. So for delete button, let me just add the icon here. So let me just import the icon, import. So here will be the icon, that is the ri delete button, and let me just give the class name as well. Here class name equals to height of 8, and when you hover over, text should be red of 500. So let me just, okay, now on this entire div, when I click remove image, okay, so let me just handle this. So what I'll do for this constant, so whatever I have defined, remove image. What I'll do here, I will just set the image to post as null. Whatever I have set the image value, right? I'm just changing its value to null. That's it. So if I see again, if I select any image, that image will come here. When I hover over, it's red, and when I click on it, it's gone. Cool, right? So you can see that it's really awesome. I'm building it second time, but still I'm loving this build. Now when you hit enter, this is the entire form, right? So when you hit enter, I need to get that image, get this text, bind all the together in the form data, and then I need to post. So let's work on that. So this is the button, right? So this hidden button, when you click, I need to do handle submit. So let's create this method, constant handle submit. Now what I want e dot, first thing is prevent default. I don't want to refresh the page. That's it. The next condition is if input ref dot current dot value is not there, right, then return. I don't want to do anything. After that, I'm just defining constant form data equals to new form data, and in this form data I need to add all the fields. So what I'll do, form data dot append, and this will be the key and this will be the value. So key is image, I can change to file. Okay, so the key is file and the value is image to post. So whatever the value was, that is the thing, image to post. So this particular file we will get in the backend as the request parameter. Okay, so let's add the other value. So form data dot append input ref dot current dot value, and I need this as a post, not text. Then form data dot append. Okay, you can see that the entire method came, right? But let me just remove this. Okay, append name, I'll do here that session dot user dot name. Okay, let me just copy this, and this is email, and this is email, this is profile pic, and this is image. Okay, so you can see that your form data is ready. All the fields, all the things that you needed, those are added in the form data. Now what you can do is you can use Axios library and do dot post, and here you need to define a URL. So what I'll do, I'll just define a URL that I'll be implementing. So here let me just define a URL. I have not created the backend service, but let's just define the URL, constant Facebook clone endpoint. Okay, so here we will be defining our URL, but this we can use now. That I will be doing the post to this endpoint. I'll be passing the form data and headers I'll define which accepts application JSON. Okay, so this is the post request. So now this will be returning the promise. So once we get the response back, what we can do, once we get the promise back, I can say input ref dot current dot value equals to blank. Okay, and then what I can do is I can remove the image as well. Okay, and if there is any error, you can catch the error and you can console log the error, console.log. Okay, so this much thing that you have done. Now at this point of time, what we are doing, when we click on submit, the file which we have plus the data that we have plus the other information, packing into form data and posting into this Facebook clone endpoint, that is the Spring Boot application that we are going to create as a form data, and then it will return a promise, and then we will be getting a response data. Once we get the response data, we are clearing the input field here, we are clearing the image also, and what we are doing is we are doing nothing. But what exactly we want, when you hit the submit, right, when you just post the data, it should be directly available in your feed, right? That's what you need. So ideally what you would be doing is you will be doing the props drilling. You will be passing whatever the value you are getting, that dependency you will be passing into your post request. Like, okay, whenever there is a change in data, just get the data, refresh the data, and show in the field, show all those values. That's what generally we do. That's generally the design of a React. But when you have a child component inside a child component inside a child component, you need to pass the props to all the childs. Okay, so that's the prop dealing. So whenever there is a function or a state that's defined in your parent, and whenever there is an operation in your child or child of a child, to handle that you need to drill down to that particular child. You need to pass all those properties to that particular component itself, which is not ideal. We should not be doing that. So to handle such kind of thing, we need to do the state management in the React. There are a lot of things available for the state management in React. There is a context API, there is a Redux Toolkit, Redux, all those stuffs. So in this video we are going to handle the state management using the Redux. So what is Redux? It's nothing but to handle the state of the entire application. So rather than having the state in each and every component, you will be having the state at the entire application level. Okay, so you will be having the store. Consider store as an onion. So you have an onion, that's the entire store of a slices. So that entire onion have a slices, right? You can peel off these slices. So those each slices can contain the state of a particular component. Suppose you have a user management, like if you want to maintain the users, you want to maintain the post, you want to maintain the comments, so you can create one comment slice, you can create one post slice, you can create one user slice. So these are all the slices which will manage the state of that particular components, and all this slice will be handled by the store, that is your onion. Okay, so you create a slice, all those slices will be handled by a store. You'll be defining a store, that store will have a slices, all your slices will be having the state to manage your particular components. Okay, I hope you are clear. This was the simplest way I could explain you. So rather than creating the state in each and every individual component, we will create a slice, we will create a state, you can say that, outside of your component, and you will use that state within your component. Okay, I will show you how to do this. It's very simple. Okay, so what we did is we had already added the dependency of React-Redux and Redux Toolkit. That two dependency we have already added. If you go here in the package.json, you can see that we have already added the dependency of Redux.js Toolkit and React-Redux. So dependency we have already added. Now what we have to do is we have to create the store. That store will bind to the slice, and we will be using the slice to manage our state. And two important things to consider more on that is, whenever you want to get the state, you will be using the selector to get the state, and whenever you want to update the state back to the slice, you will be using the dispatch, because you will be dispatching whatever the content you have to the slice, so it will update the state, and whenever we want that state back, we will be using the selector to get the state. Okay, so these are the two concepts that we are going to use. So what we will do, we will create the store here. So inside this public directory, what I'm going to do is I'll be creating one src directory. Inside the src directory, I'll create the app directory, and inside this app directory, I'll create one file, that is the store.js. Okay, this is your onion, your entire store. And what I'll do is, within the src directory, I'll create one more folder that says features. Okay, and inside these features, I'll create one file that says post_slice.js. This is the slice for our posts, whatever the post that we are going to create. Okay, so you can see we just created two files, that we entirely created our store and we are going to create our slice. Now in our store, we need to configure our store. Okay, so we need to import few things. So what I'll do, I'll just import configure store from Redux.js/toolkit. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to export default configure store, and inside this store we need to define the reducer. Your reducer is nothing but your slices. Okay, you will be defining your slices over here. Okay, now your blank store is created. This is your default blank store. Now whatever the slices you create, those slices you will define here. So now let's go to the post slice and define our slice. So here in this store we have defined the configure store. Now in the post slice we will define create slice. Okay, create slice from Redux.js toolkit. Now here we'll say export constant, and this is a post slice equals to create slice. Okay, now this is your slice. Now we can define the name of a slice, that is the post, and you can define the initial state. You can see that we will be handling the state, right? So we have to define what would be our initial state. So initial state you will be defining as a value, and this will be your blank array. Okay, so I just defined that my initial state is the blank array, and now I can define the reducers. What are reducers? Reducers are your different actions, different events that you are going to perform, like add post, like save post, get all post, get a particular post, delete post. So these are the reducers that you are going to define. So whatever the operations you do, those you will define in the reducers. Simple. Okay, so I'm defining reducers here, and inside this reducer you will define all the different actions. So let me just add the first reducer, that is the add post. So what I want to do is I want to add a post to the database. So for that I am defining the add post reducer. So ideally this will take the state as the input, but if you have some action to perform, if you want to pass in a payload as well, then at that time you will define the action as well. Okay, simple. So this is your reducer, your event, whatever you can tell it is. So you just need to remember, like whatever you tell, whatever you call it as an event or a dispatcher or a reducer or an action, you should be able to grasp that concept. Like whatever you have to do, whatever they perform, whatever the operation that you're going to perform, that's what you are defining here, which will have the state and the action as an input parameter. Okay, and at this point, if you want whatever the state you have defined, right, you can update the state as well, and I can define multiple as well. So suppose I can define add all post. Okay, I can define this way. The implementation part we will take care of it later, but this is what the two operations that I have defined. Now I'll be exporting default as post slice.reducer. Okay, the entire concept I'm just default exporting. Now I can define that what can be selected and what can be the actions. So you can see these are the two actions that I have defined, that is the add post and add all post. So I need to export so I can use it in the other components. So what I'll do, I'll just export constant add post, add all post equals to post slice.actions. Okay, so I'm just exporting the actions which I have defined, that is the add post and add all post. Now I need to have a way to export the state as well. So that also I'll just define export select post, I'm giving the name for it, equals to, it will take the state as the input and it will pass that state, which state, this post state dot value. Okay, so it will be state dot post dot value, and here it will be constant. Cool, right? You can see that three things I have exported. I have exported the reducer as a default export. I have exported the action as well. So whatever the actions that you have defined, I have exported that so I can use in the components, and I have also exported the state as well. So initial state, whatever I have defined, this is where I am going to store all the values. So I have exported that as well. Okay, now whatever the reducer I have created, I can go ahead to the store.js and I can import it, I can use it. So here in the reducers, I can say this is a post reducer and post reducer. Now I need to give this name as an import, so I'll just do import post reducer from, as this is a default import, right? It should be from the feature/post slice. Sorry, it would be double dots because it's in the outer directory, right? So you can see that I just created the post, I just defined the name of the slice, I just defined the initial state for this slice, I just added the actions as well, what are the actions it's going to perform, and I also added the export as well. Like it's exporting the reducer, it's exporting the state, and it is exporting the actions. And whatever the reducer is defined, I just define that reducer in my store as well. So this is all the configuration for your Redux toolkit. Now if I go back to my create post, at this particular point when you get the response back, right? So when you get this response back, whatever the data that you got, you need to put the data in your state. So your state is here in the post slice here. Okay, so here you need to put the data. So to putting the data, we already seen that to putting the data, that's you need to dispatch the data, okay, with the actions. So what we will do is we will dispatch the data. Which data we will dispatch? We'll dispatch to this add post. Okay, so if we go back to create post, we need to have the dispatcher. So let's get the dispatcher. So I'll just define constant dispatch equals to use dispatch. This is the hook. Okay, you can see that use dispatch is from the React-Redux. Simple. Now once you handle it, right, once you got the response back, what you will do is, before removing the image, you will dispatch it. What you will dispatch? You will dispatch add post. Add post. And you can see that add post is coming from the post slice. You need to import that as well. So I'm just doing add post, and what you need to pass in the add post is response data. So this is your actions. Okay, so you will get whatever the payload that you pass, it will come as an action over here. And what I need is, once I get the data here, once this is called, that data I need to add in the state. So I just define state.value.push actions.payload. Simple. So my state is updated. Okay, you can see that it's very simple. It's just complex to understand it first. We did nothing to implement Redux. It's very easy. Just create your store, create your slice, and use it wherever you want. You can create how many slices you want. It's very easy. And you can, and how many slices you have created, you can call all those slices to a particular component, and you can dispatch any events to any of the slices. All you can do over here. Okay, you are not bound to now passing the props to your children, or to children. Okay, now you're not bound to that. It's very easy to implement now. Now what we will do, you can see that now entire UI component, you can see that is done. Now you have to handle the submit request. So now you need to create your backend application. So let's go ahead and create our backend application. So what we will do, I will just go to the browser. You can see that there is an error. So let's handle that. What it is, React-Redux context value. Please ensure the component is wrapped in a provider. Yes, that's one more thing that we forgot to add. So let's wrap our entire component to a provider. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that. So what I need is your entire app.js, right? So if I go to the app.js, we need to wrap our entire component to the store. So whatever the store that we have created. So what we will do, inside the session provider, I'll just say provider. And this provider, you can see it's from the React-Redux, and we will wrap this into the provider. Now this provider will need a store, so I'll just define store equals to store, and we need to import the store as well. So here we will define import store from public folder slash src folder slash app slash store. Okay, from this store I have taken the store and I have wrapped my all the components to this provider, which is store, and entire this provider has been wrapped with my session provider. Cool. Now if I go back, you can see that my application is working. Your React Redux is configured correctly now. Now we need to handle this submit functionality. So that we need to create the backend application. For that, let's go to the Spring initializer. So I'll just say start.spring.io. And here let's create com.daily code buffer artifact as Facebook clone service, and inside the package name I'll just say Facebook service or Facebook clone, that will be better. Okay, my packaging is jar, Java version is 11, and let's add the dependency. I'll add the web dependency, and then I will add the Lombok dependency. I'll add the JPA dependency, MySQL dependency. So web, Lombok, JPA and MySQL. I think these are all good. So let's generate the project and open in IntelliJ IDEA. So let's generate the project. So I'll go to the IntelliJ IDEA and open the project. Documents, YouTube tutorial, Facebook clone service, open. Yes, it was the project. And here you can see that your project is open. Okay, now here we need to create all the different packages. We need to create all the controllers, service, entities, model, repositories, the application.properties configuration, and also we need to create the schema. So let's do this. So we'll go to the application.properties first. We'll go to the src main resources application.properties, and here we need to add the properties to handle the files that we are going to upload, and we also have to handle the database properties. So first let's handle the file properties. So first property that I'm adding here is the spring.servlet.multipart.enable equal to true. This will enable the multipart file handling in our application, and this will handle the different file sizes. So you can see that maximum file size is 200 MB and maximum request size is 215 MB. And after 2 KB, it will start writing the file to the disk. So this property will help us to upload the files. Now we need to add the configuration for our database. So this is the configuration for our database, where spring.datasource.url we are using as JDBC MySQL localhost 3306. This is my local server, and the schema name that we are going to use is the Facebook DB, and the other properties that we have defined for the database. Username and password is root and root, and the dialect that I have used is the MySQL InnoDB dialect, and the hibernate.ddl auto I have defined as update. So whenever we do any modification in our entity, those will be updated to the database. Now this Facebook DB, this schema that we have to create. So let's go to the MySQL, and here let's create the new schema, create schema, and let's define the schema that is the Facebook DB. Let's apply the changes and done. So you can see that your schema is created. Now we can directly connect here. Now let's create the different packages. So inside this, let's create the controller package, entity package for our entity, repository package for our repository, service package, model package, okay, controller, entity, model, repository, and service. Now let's create the entity. So right click on new, create new Java class, and I'll just say as a post entity. And this will be your interface. Nope, this will be your class. And to annotate, we need to do entity to make this as a entity. Okay, now bunch of other annotations. We will just define table annotation and the name of a table. So name of the table would be posts. And we will use the Lombok to add the getter setters data annotation. We'll add the builder to add the builder pattern, at the rate noargs constructor to have the default constructor, and at the rate allargs constructor to have the constructor with all the arguments. Now let's add the fields. So it will have the field that is the private string id, private string post, private string name, private string email, private string image, private string profile picture, private string timestamp. That's it. Now for this entity we need to have a primary key. So let's define the primary key with @id annotation, and we will do the generation value as well. So how this particular primary key will be generated. So in the generated value we will define as generator equals to uuid. Now we need to define the generator. So we'll just define this as a generic generator, and the name we will define as a uuid, and what would be the strategy. So the strategy would be uuid2. Okay, now one more thing we will define is your post. So your post may contain a lot of contents, right? Lot of characters. So by default is 255 characters, but I need a blob. So I'll just define as a lob, so I can store any number of data. So I'll just define lob, and the image also I will save as a base 64 characters. So that also I'll define as a lob. Okay, so your post entity is created, which will create a table post. So for this post entity, let's create the repository. So I'll just define a class that says post entity repository, post entity repository, and which is an interface. This interface will extend JPA repository, and this JPA repository is of type post entity, and the ID is of type string. Okay, and we need to define annotate with @repository. So your repository is created. Now let's create the service. So I'll just define the Java class that says post service. This is the interface, and I'll create one more implementation of this post service, that is the post service impl. This is a class which implements post service, and this is your service layer. So annotate with @service. And we need to have a controller as well. So let's create the Java class that says post controller, and annotate with REST controller, and we'll define the request mapping as well. So here the request mapping I'm defining is /API/version1/post. Now as we are going to call from the UI application, we need to handle the cross origin as well. So I'll just define cross origin, and value should be the URL of your application, your front-end application. So front-end application URL is localhost:3000. So I'll just paste it over here, and I'll just remove this. Okay, now your controller will need the object of a service. So let's define this private post service, and we need to have the constructor injection for this. And for your service IMPL, you need the object of your repository. So let's do that. Private post repository, post entity repository. Okay, and let's create the constructor for this as well. So your structure is ready. Okay, now we need to implement the save post functionality. Whenever you click on save post, your data will be saved to your database, and you need to also have one method which will fetch all the data. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go to the post controller, and here we will define a method that is the public, and this will return a post. So we need to have a response data model also to be created. So let's create that first. Let's create the model for it. So in the model package, let's create the Java class that says post, and here we will define annotate with @data for Lombok, for getter setters, to have a builder pattern, to have the no args constructor, and to have the all args constructor with all the fields. Now here what details we need is, if you go to the post entity, I need ID, I need post name email ID, I need image profile pic timestamp, and I need one private string file as well. Okay, this is the extra field that I have added. Okay, so your post is created. Now let's go to the controller back, and here let's import the post. So public post, and add post is the method name, and this will be the post mapping. Okay, now as we already saw that from here, from the create post, we are getting all the data as the request parameter. We are adding all the data in the form body. So we need to get all the request parameter. Now to get all the request parameters separately, it's tedious. So what I'll do, I will take the map of a request parameter which will have this key and value as the type. Okay, so if we go back here, I'll just define the request param, and this request param would be of type map, of type string and string, and this is request params. I'll just import the maps here, and request params be capital. Okay, now here I can take all the values. So I can say string str post equals to request params dot get post. Let me just copy all the things. One for email ID, one for name, one for file, one for profile picture. Okay, so I'll just define this is for email. Let's copy this here. This is for name. This is for file that we have uploaded, and this is for profile picture. So once you got all these values, you can create the object of a post. So here I'll just define post equals to post dot builder dot build, and here I can define all the fields. Dot file is file, dot name is name, dot email is email, dot post is str post, dot profile pic is profile pic dot timestamp is new date dot toString and dot build. Okay, now once this post is created, we will do post equals to post service dot add post, and we will pass this post. This add post we need to create, but at the end we will do return post. So you can see that we got all the values from the request parameter. We created the object of a post and we are passing that post to our post service dot add post method. Let's create this method. Create method add post in post service. Yes, let's implement this method as well. Implement method. Okay, and if you go to the service now, this is what we can implement now. Let's add the try catch block, try catch exception E. Okay, and here I need the object of a post entity. So I'll just define post entity. Post entity equals to new post entity, and I'll copy all the properties. So I'll just do beanutils dot copy properties from post to post entity. Now we need to get the file as well. So if and only if I upload the file, then only I need to save the file. Otherwise I don't need to save the file. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just say if post dot get file not equals to null and not of post dot get file dot equals ignore case with null string. Okay, then post entity dot set image to post dot get file, else post entity dot set image as null. Okay, once the image is available, then only set that image and get that image from the file, otherwise set as null. Once you get this, just do post entity dot post entity repository dot save post entity. Okay, save the data. Now what I need is, I need to set some value, post dot set id, because now id is generated and it's there in the post entity, so I need that id. So I'll just take from the post entity dot get id. Okay, now I need the file as well, so post dot set file equals to null, and post dot set image equals to post entity dot get image. You can see that cool, we set the value to the database and we updated the value of our return request as well. Now if there is any error, we can define throw new exception could not save post and here return post. Here you can see that there is an exception, add exception to method signature, yes. Okay, and if you go to the post controller, here also you need to add the exception. So here you can see that the method is created at post, and at the end it will return the post as well. Now let's create a method to get all the list of post. Okay, because that also we need. So let's do that. What we will do, we will create a method public list of post get post, and this will be get mapping. And here it is simple, return post service dot get post. Let's create this method because this method is not available yet. So let's create a method and implement the method as well. So let's implement this method. Okay, now here we need to get the list of posts, but from the database we will be getting the list of post entity. So first let's get the list of post entity. So I'll just define list of post entities equals to post entity repository dot find all. Okay, you got all the data now. Now what I need is I need to convert. So for that I'll just define list of posts equals to new array list, and here return posts. Now from here and here we need to have the post. So I'll just define post equals to post entities dot stream dot map, and here I'll get a particular post entity, and here I can define post dot builder dot build, and here I can define all the things. Dot id I can get from the post entity dot get id dot timestamp post entity dot get timestamp dot email post entity dot get email dot name post entity dot get name dot post entity dot get post dot image post entity dot get image dot profile pic post entity dot get profile pic. And once you build after that, dot collect collectors dot toList. Super cool, right? You can see that your entire method is completed and your entire implementation of your backend is completed. So once you start your server, so let's start the server. You can see that your server is started, right? So if you go and check your database, your table should be created. Okay, you can see that your table is created and it is empty for now. Now we can call from the front end. So now let's implement that. Now as our backend is done, we need to get the URL of a backend and we have to assign here, that is in the create post. So if you come here, this is where we have defined the Facebook clone endpoint. So here we have to define that endpoint, and the endpoint is this one, that is the http localhost 8080/API/v1/post. So if you go here, you can see that this is what we have defined. If you go to the controller, this is localhost 8080. This is where this is the port in which my application is running /API/v1/post. Okay, so I've just defined that, and once I get the data, right, once I get the response back, I am dispatching that to my state that we have defined. Okay, so if we go back, if we refresh here, what we have to do is we can add the post here, and after that whatever the data is coming here, this also has to be getting the data from that. So let's handle that as well. So this entire post, it is right, we need to create it dynamic because your add post is now completely done. We just have to test it out. Before that, let's implement this. So if we go to the post here, so let's go back. So if you go to the posts here we need to take everything. So here what we will do, we will use constant dispatch equals to use dispatch, and here we will also use the constant posts equals to use selector, and the use selector we will define as select post. So what we are doing here is using the use selector hook, we are selecting the state that we have defined in the splice. So whatever the state we have defined here, and that state we have exported as a select post from here. That is the select, that is the state.post.value. That is the state.post.value. That's the initial state that we have exported, that we are using with the help of select post export. So if we go back here in the post, that's what we are getting here. Okay, and here in this return statement, what we are doing is we will just define div tag here, and inside this div will define our post and whatever the post that we have. So we will just define post.map. Okay, so we are just mapping, we are just looping through the entire all the posts available, and we are creating this post. Now what we'll do, we'll just pass posts here as the props here, and we'll also define the key. So key would be post.id. Okay, now you can see that whatever the data is available in the post in the state, that only we are going to get. So whatever we add, that only we'll get. But when you start the application, what are the data that is already available in the database, that functionality we have still not implemented. That we will do. We just created the API for it. So first let's complete this post section. So if we go to the post, we will be getting this post as the props here. Okay, and this div will have the again key equals to post.id, and the image section, what we will do is, instead of src that we have defined here, we will just say post.profile pic. So whatever the profile picture for the user, that will be, and instead of shabir.daudi, it will be the post.name, and instead of date, it will be post.timestamp, and instead of static content, here it will be post.post, and here inside this image, instead of this URL, it will be post.image. Now this entire div tag, it will be only visible when there is a image for a post. So we need to handle that as well. So we will just define if post.image not equals to null, at that time only define this. Okay, so when the post.image is not null, at that time only we will be able to see the image, otherwise we won't be able to see. Okay, you can see that this is complete now. Now if I go back, you can see that there are no posts available. So if I just say hi, you can see that I am getting hi, and I'm getting the image and everything here. Now if I say hello, welcome to daily code buffer, and if I add the image, let me just add this image, open, and you can see that this image is coming here. If I want, I can delete and I can add the new image, but let me just add it, and you can see that I am getting this image and it's completely fine, right? Completely working fine. Now couple of things, there is a scroll bar coming, that scroll bar we will remove. Okay, that is one thing. Now the other thing, you can see that whatever the data I'm adding, that particular data is coming after that. So suppose if I add yo, you can see that yo is coming at the end. I need at the top because it should come as a latest post, right? The other thing is, if I refresh it, you can see there is no data. There is a data in the database already, but I'm not getting. So when I refresh the page, when the page is loaded, I need to get all the data from the database, and I need to display the data. That's what I want to do. So 3 things that we are going to implement now. So let's go to post again, and first thing is all the posts should come at the top, whatever the new post that I'm adding. So if I go to the post.slice, instead of push, I'll do unshift. Unshift will add the data at the starting of the array. Okay, that's the basic JavaScript. Now what I'll do, I will go to the posts, and here I will use the use effect hook to get all the posts for the first time. Okay, then I already have the post, so I don't worry about anything later. So let me just use effect. Here, and what I'll do, and I will add the empty array. Okay, so there is a empty dependency, so it will be only called once here, and inside this use effect I will add the constant fetch data method, that is this, and here I will just add constant response equals to Axios dot get, and here I need to define the URL. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the create post, and I will just copy this. I'll go to the post again, I will just define this here, and in this get I'll just define Facebook clone endpoint, and dot then whatever the response I'm getting, that response I need to dispatch. So what I'll do, I will dispatch that response, and I will dispatch to add all post. Okay, so I'm getting the list of posts now, so that I want to dispatch, and I'll pass response dot data. Okay, so whatever the data I'm getting for the first time, I'm dispatching all those data to my state. Now if you go to your state, that is your post slice, right? You already have a method to add one post that you are using add shift to add at the starting. But now when you have the list of posts that you are going to get at the starting, what you will do, you will do the same thing. State dot value dot push action dot payload. Okay, but you will destruct the array here. Okay, this way. So your entire array, it will be converted to all the different components, all the different objects, and those objects will be pushed to your array. Does this make sense? This is a simple JavaScript. Okay, nothing fancy here. Now if I go back, if I refresh, and I'm not getting the data. Do you know why? It's simple, because you created the use effect, you created the fetch data function, but you didn't call. So once this is defined, you need to call that. So this is what you will do. Once you do this, once you go back, you can see that you are getting all the data. Okay, and once you add the new data, hello, and let me add the new image as well. Okay, you can see that I am getting new image as well. If I refresh it, you can see that I am getting all the data. Now let's handle this scroll bar. So for this scroll bar, what we are going to do is we are going to configure our Tailwind config. So for that, you will go to your global CSS. Okay, so here if you go to your global CSS, and here we will define few things. So in here we will define the property, that is the layer, utilities, and here we will define dot no scroll bar And this is for WebKit scroll bar, WebKit scroll bar, and for that display none. Okay, and now this is for other browsers that are IE or Edge. So for that we will just do no scroll bar ms overflow style none and scroll bar width equals to none. Okay, you can see that we define these properties, and for that we define the class that is the no scroll bar. This is the class for that. Okay, and you can see you are getting scroll bar at where you are getting scroll bar at the entire feed component. So you need to go to your feed component, and this is your div. So for here, if you define your no scroll bar, and if you go back, you can see that you are not getting a scroll bar, but you are able to scroll. UP, right? You can see that your entire application is working. Your entire UI is working. It's completely responsive. You can see that. And if you want, you can just log out as well. You just log out to the application. If you want, you can directly log in with Facebook. And once you're logged in, you will get all the data. You can see that all your data you are getting. You can use anything. Hi, hello. You can see that it's very responsive. All the data is been added. And one thing also, you notice that you are only able to upload images. Okay, for others you can see you won't be able to select only, because we have defined that just images are allowed for now. NYC, and I can define you can see that all the emojis and everything is working, right? So here you can see that we did a lot of things. We created a complete UI and we also created a complete backend as well. So that's a complete full stack application we built, and how your front end and backend reacts together and how they work together. That's what we have learned in this complete tutorial. So this complete Facebook clone was inspired by the Sunny Sangha, who also have a channel on React.js. He creates a lot of different builds on React.js, Next.js and all those things. This was inspired by him. He created the same thing using the Firebase and Next-Auth, and I have done using the Spring Boot. So if you are interested to check that out, I will add the link in the description below. Send some love to him as well. He's creating a lot of good contents. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for the upcoming videos. And don't forget to join my channel if you are interested and if you want to support me. I'll be creating a lot of new tutorials, and if you want anything, then do let me know in the comment section below what kind of tutorials or what kind of topics that you are interested. I will create those as well. And if you want to know more about how to deploy this application to Kubernetes cluster and to learn Kubernetes and to create a CI/CD pipeline and to deploy to GKS, that is the Google Kubernetes service, then these are the videos that you can check that out. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, happy coding. Bye bye.